just received this package from Raceworks. Can't show you anything on there, personal information, but you got all the hardware. And inside of here is the differential brace for my 350Z. Trying to prevent some wheel hop and just keep the differential as aligned as I can, because my bushings aren't the greatest and I'm waiting to change them out. And here it is. So when I get a chance, probably after work today, I'm going to go ahead and bolt this up to the car. Now, I've watched a few videos on how to install this thing, and these two bolts are going to go into your diff, and this one's going to go up into your subframe. There's a bolt with a sleeve that goes through the backside. I'll show you guys in just a minute. But there's two things that really separate this car from how easy it would be to do on yours. One, I don't have a trunk. The bolt's hoodie right here. And two, I have this Megan racing bar, which I may or may not have to remove. And depending on whether or not you've put one into your car, this will differ. The general idea is this will bolt up to the diff right down in there, and this top bolt will go into here. Provides a little bit of extra support and just prevents things like wheel hop and the differential from moving around. Wow, I didn't even notice. It has a nice sparkle to it.
Yeah. 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 Gon' grab that fifth, grab that eighth, grab what you need. Blow that dope, don't get too high. From the third coast to the west coast, come take this ride. Let me tell her how.
I'm gonna start off this install by removing the two bolts that hold in my Megan Racing brace. And once that's out, it'll give us enough clearance to, I believe, remove these two bolts right here that will hold in the diff. The diff brace. This is going to be a very beginner-friendly install, considering there's only 3 bolts that really go into this. You're going to need a 17mm socket for these 2 smaller bolts, and a 19mm socket for this bigger sleeved bolt with 2 washers and a nut on the end. And just a simple ratchet will do the job, maybe an extension, but I happen to have a Milwaukee Impact, so I'm just going to go ahead and make things easier for myself, but that's not completely needed for your application. Also, for most people, I would guess there's not a Civic transmission in the way, so that should make things a little bit easier for you. Fairly quickly removed my Megan Racing brace and the 2 nuts to go along with it, which bolt onto here and, right here. Gives us way more space to access these 2 bolts here, and this one here, which you will run the top of the diff brace through with that sleeved bolt right here. On the back side, the nut will hold it into place, and the sleeve should keep anything from moving around. Moved the 2 factory bolts from the diff cover right there. And just to correct my previous statement where I said you would only need a 17 and a 19, you also need a 14mm socket and a decent amount of torque to get that off. But you can still get the job done with hand tools. I prefer my impacts. Another thing that isn't completely needed to do the job, but thing I prefer, is to use some blue Loctite, just to make sure these bolts don't end up going anywhere on me, since this is a track car that will see lots of aggressive driving. That's also not to say that just because your car is a daily, it won't see some sort of differential abuse, but if you are just daily driving your car, the Loctite isn't completely necessary, but I recommend it as it's only about $1 at most parts stores. I got the first 2 bolts with Loctite on them, just loosely in, just so I could figure out my positioning, and now I can line up that top bolt. So for this bolt, they didn't give you any sort of instructions. I'm going to go ahead and put the washer on the head of the bolt and put that through, and once I have it through, you're going to go ahead and put the sleeve on the back side, and giving a little bit of space right here for the metal. And on the back side, you're going to go ahead and run this washer with the nut, and it is a lock nut, so you don't really need any Loctite on this bolt as it locks itself. Another tool that's going to help you a lot is either a pair of vice grips, or maybe a wrench the correct size of the nut, or an adjustable wrench, just something that'll hold on to the back side right here on this nut while you go ahead and fasten down the bolt. This is one of those situations where having no trunk helps a lot, as it was the best angle I could find to get the vice grips onto the back side of that bolt.
Sky over one lost strip to the sky. Let me tell the tale, cause you told the tale when you said I can make it this high. Who knew? God damn it, who knew? The grass ain't greener on the other side, it's just blue. You can really identify.
My logic might not be the smartest on this one, but the Megan Racing brace actually pushes against the Bell Raceworks diff brace. And, I mean, I may not be completely correct, but I don't see why that wouldn't help the diff brace even more, as it's held against the subframe even tighter than the 3 bolts will allow it to. And they also look very good together. Here's a top view of what anyone would see looking down, and wow, looks great. Should help stiffen it up a lot. Should help with wheel hop, which I've had a big issue with. If you saw in my last video, the second I hit second gear, the thing doesn't even want to stay in gear. It just hops like crazy. That's going to be all for today's video with this car. I mean, there's plenty more to do in the future, so it's not like you won't be seeing much more of this thing. But for now, I hope I taught you guys something about these cars. If you do plan on building one yourself, this is one of the easiest mods you can do. I've done a lot to this thing, and 3 bolts is really something you can't beat as a beginner. I advise it to anyone that's looking to build a more aggressive 350Z or G35, any of the equivalent cars. All right, have a good one.